If you're in B2B, if you're the CEO of a B2B SaaS or consulting company, then this is for you. How do you scale in 2026? How do you pick the right marketing channel, the right marketing method so that you can actually grow your business this year? How can you scale with the lowest risk possible so that you're not just gambling and you're taking the right amount of risk for where your business is? Give me the next few minutes and I will break it down in Loom exactly how to do it. Okay, so let's get into it. How can you scale? What is the right method? I'm going to break customer acquisition really into two broad categories. The first one is the easiest for selling, but the least scalable, which is relationships. Relationship driven sales. Now, a lot of consultants work this way. A lot of B2B SaaS gets started this way. It's like how you break into different markets as you know somebody that will, give you the time of day. So relationship driven sales is one area. And there's the opposite of this is like not relationship driven sales. So what I would call this is selling to strangers. These are kind of the two broad categories. You can have relationship driven sales or selling to strangers. So just before we get into my recommendations, what do people normally do? So we've got relationship driven sales and selling to strangers. So a lot of companies get started with relationship driven sales because it's very low risk and the sales are easier. It's easier to sell to people that know you because this is all related to what I would say the know and trust factor is very high. So that's one part of relationship driven sales. So how are people doing it right now? I'm just going to rattle off some ways you might be doing. I know of different like fractional CFOs. They will go golfing. They'll go golfing. They'll try to meet like 10 people a week, and that's all it takes to scale their business to a certain level. If you B2B SaaS, for example, you could be doing conferences, right? There's the conferences, there's the hallway track. It's who you meet, in those conferences. It's a great place to also appear legitimate to be at these industry conferences, right? And other people's, maybe they'll do events. You can run your own events. You could even just as simple as having dinner with people hosting dinners for other executives. So these are ways. And what is this doing? So all these things that you may already be doing, like what is it solving for? It's solving for this question is like, how might we build more relationships per month? That is what we're trying to do. That's what all this is trying to do. So how can you scale up building more relationships per month? Well, one of the things that is really time efficient is launching a podcast. So launching a podcast is fantastic because not only does it help you build authority, it's another way to give back to your customers and your prospects, right? If you're serving a market, it's just one other way that you can show up and stand up and lead online like you're leading in business. So it's great for that. But also, you're building relationships with all the guests. And if you invite guests that you would potentially like to do business with, or potentially the guests know the people that you want to meet, it just massively accelerates this, building more relationships per month. A podcast can build more relationships per month than golfing, I'm sure. Conferences and events are a little bit more scalable because you gather everyone together, but still there's only so much you can do. And this just packs people in. You can meet quite a few people. And if they're the right people, it's very, very effective. So this is a fantastic way to increase relationship-driven sales. And that's that. So that's what I would say is a really low-risk way. Now, obviously, you have to be professional about your podcast and make it a real show, really give value. But it's a great way to build relationships. You spend some time with people, interviewing them, and it can be fantastic for business growth. Now, there is a downside to all this because no matter how many people you meet, no business person I know wants to have 20 podcasts a day or whatever. There's a limit to this, and not everyone you meet wants to do business with you, right? This has a scale limit. And in fact, relationship-driven sales has a scale limit because it takes some time for people to know and trust you. And it takes time to build those relationships. You should never stop doing this, but it does not have as much scale as selling to strangers because there are more strangers out there than there are people you have relationships to. And so a lot of times in marketing, we're just doing really, really simple things, which if this is the whole market, right? And let's say that this is also like represents economic purchasing power too. So the bottom is like regular consumers. I'm going to mark them in red because unless you're a giant enterprise, it's too expensive to reach them to advertise to individuals. So most businesses, most B2B businesses are selling to this like top 10% of the market. But really, when you're looking at relationship-driven sales, it's like a super tiny little section of it, right? It's let's make it blue here. It's like, just the people you have relationships, right? And a lot of what we're always doing in marketing is like, how can we make this area that you're selling to a bit bigger? So if we could sell to strangers up here, well, there's way more strangers up here. And there's different ways to think about this, but there you go. So we're trying to, there we go, sell to strangers. And I'll make this blue, and I'll make this one green. So that's what we're talking about. So what's the best way to sell to strangers? And this is going to rattle some feathers maybe. So selling to strangers. This is really the way to unlock scale. So selling to strangers, there's a lot of ways it's going to involve advertising. For most businesses, it's going to involve advertising. And here's why. It's because if you're going to put in, let's just say, effort and time to make money. If you're doing things like emails and outbound, they're great to get started. In fact, you can use emails and outbound to launch a podcast. You might be thinking like, well, what do you know about that? Well, just for example, I'll just pull off one of these. We've had a lot of experience launching podcasts. Here's a extremely great reply rate. So we get people to respond and book. So it works, right? There's nothing wrong with it, and you can generate large pipeline with it, but it's kind of linear. It's linear. You got to do work, and then you make some sales, things break, you got to do more work, and it's just like effort in, effort out. And it's low risk, so that there's a lot of benefits to outbound. But if we talk about paid ads, the curve is more like this. And why is the curve like this? Because, just say effort and time, because every time you make a sale, if you're doing it correctly, you're able to reinvest some of your cash flow. And so it's like compound interest. So you make this compound interest curve and you can scale faster. And because it doesn't necessarily take you a lot more time, it's just taking some of your cash flow. That's why the curve goes like this. And paid ads obviously is a higher risk and more expensive than outbound. And it's kind of a fundamental thing about the universe. It's, we're getting risk adjusted returns in real life. So sometimes when you want more returns, you have to incur some more risk. Doing the safest thing possible is not always the highest return. Okay, so paid ads, a little more risky, but you can actually have better growth curves, and it doesn't take your time. In any case, those are two ways to sell to strangers, and I'm going to talk about paid ads for this reason, because if you're going to do outbound, it's so hard anyway, you might as well do outbound to build your relationship-driven sales. Really use this effort to reach the best top people in the market. And so I am a big proponent of using outbound to give people stuff they already want and build relationships. I've had great success doing that. So I would say this is a great way to run a podcast. Use outbound to get the guests and then build relationships and then build sales off of that. That's what I suggest. And I guess podcast needs to be blue. So selling to strangers, if you're going to sell to strangers, I think this is a great use of paid ads is great for this application. So I just want to talk about what makes this work and how does it not, what makes it fail. Selling to strangers only works, this is going to sound ridiculous, but it only works when you sell them stuff they already want to buy. What they want to buy. That sounds like I'm joking with you, but I'm serious. So this is the mistake people make. They try to sell strangers what they want to sell, which doesn't match up at all with what strangers want to buy. So this is really, really common. What that usually looks like is somebody says, hey, I want to start advertising. And they have this really incorrect thought, which is, I want to advertise my business. Nobody wants to buy your business is a complicated thing that gives many, many results. Even if it's SaaS, it's not just one thing. It has many, many outcomes. So the key here is to advertise a cold, friendly offer. Cold, friendly offer. So what is a cold, friendly offer? Okay, well, they want it. It's a one-time fee. It's very low risk and it has a specific outcome. If you really want to scale, the trick is not to run ads or advertise your business. The trick is to figure out of all the things, if you look at your whole business, so if relationship-driven sales is all about the question, how might we build more relationships per month? This is how might we acquire more customers without losing money? That's the question here. How might we acquire customers without losing money? It's not how do we make the maximum amount of money we could make. It's how do we acquire customers without losing money? So to do that, it's all about not advertising your business, not advertising the big result you could do. It's thinking of these things that are one-time easy yes offers that you can make to people where you've predetermined the unit economics to work for paid ads. And then when you do that, you can make your like sale number one. And all the profit comes in sale number two is when you say, hey, look, we did such a great job with our introductory offer. Would you like us to really help you more and get even further? And that's more expensive. And that's where you make your profit because you're selling to customers. So that is really what to do. And so how do you know which one of these should you do? So really high level, the way I like to break it down is this is a great way to launch a business. If you're a professional with experience, then this is a great way to launch it. It's a great way to add. You can add, up to 1 million with podcasts, for example, if you're doing it right and their economics work. And you should definitely not stop it, but somewhere around 1 million ARR or it's not making sense because you're not going to want to scale it up to, let's say, 1 million per year. Once you're here, it's now time to incur this risk and figure out how to add strangers. That's really the way to scale. You can keep adding these and it's a great way to shift and start shifting more into higher end customers but it's not the quickest thing in the world. And this is much faster. So this is above 1 million. So this is my recommendation for you this year. If you're looking how to scale and you're really in relationship driven sales or you are below 1 million ARR, add a podcast, you can add another 1 million with it if you do it right. And if you're already at that point and you'd like to scale faster, then it's time to start selling to strangers. And the key is not running ads. There's no secrets there. The key is figuring out the right thing to advertise. Now, if you want help with any of that, let me know, and I'd love to help you.